Hello artists! Today we are going to be working on something called a paper mosaic. A mosaic is usually made with three-dimensional objects, tiles or shells, stones, things from nature, or even things that are man-made in modern times. But the earliest mosaics were found way back in Mesopotamia. And they have been used throughout history and are still used today. Today, we are going to be making a mosaic out of paper. It's a lot simpler to do, and for what we're doing, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So you can use whatever shape you like. I have used a heart as my shape. Mother's Day is coming up, so might be a good idea, but you can do whatever you like, as long as the shape for this assignment is fairly simple. Okay, so one of the things that makes this different from a collage, in my opinion, is that the shapes are glued down with spaces in between. Okay, they're supposed to emulate or look like a tile mosaic. And if you are familiar, if you've seen mosaics in your life, even including perhaps the shower in your bathroom or the backsplash behind the sink in the kitchen, you'll notice that the tiles have little spaces in between them. And there's some gritty stuff in there, right, between the tiles. That's called grout. And we are kind of trying to give this the look of having those grout lines in between by gluing our pieces down kind of away from each other, whereas a collage the pieces may actually overlap. Okay, so what we're going to need for this today is we are going to need a pencil. Ooh, right, got a pencil. I have a nice eraser on there. Some glue stick, got that. A pair of scissors, got those. And we are going to also need 2 colors of paper, one for the shape and one for the background, and another piece of paper to put them on. Now, the piece of paper that you're going to put them on needs to be bigger than the 2 pieces that you start with, because the 2 pieces are going to spread apart a little bit. These pieces, I measured them, are 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches because they are square. And this piece, how big was this piece? 8 inches maybe? I think this was 8 inches square. So, you know, you can kind of see the ratio, the size of the pieces. So let's see, I'm going to move this out of the way and kind of go along. And I'm going to film it from another angle, so I may edit that in later. But otherwise, I'm going to do it upside down maybe so you can see it a little better. I'm going to put the 2 pieces, the 2 color pieces on top of each other, or together I should say, and I'm going to draw my shape. Whichever color is easier for you to see. I think on the camera the blue is easier to see, and I am going to draw, suppose if you wanted to, you could trace one. Okay, I'm going to leave a little room around the outside, because that is that's what the background color will be. And I do want to be able to see a little bit of, maybe I should have traced my heart. That's okay, I can go back over it and redefine my lines. Use my eraser. Now when I glue this down, I'm going to do it in a certain order, and let me just tell you from experience, it makes a difference. Okay, because I have done this before where I cut all the pieces up and then tried to fit them back together like a puzzle. Didn't work real well. So, and then when we glue our pieces down, let's go ahead and flip them over so we don't see the pencil lines. It just makes it look a little nicer. So now I have my 2 pieces, and I have the heart drawn on the 1 piece, and we're going to cut them out at the same time. So, because I'm going to be using the background as well, let's see if I can show you this. Well, you'll see it on the other part of the video, but I'm going to hold these together. I'm going to cut straight up like this, and then I'm going to cut. Can you see? I'm going to cut around the heart. I'm going to take my time, Sometimes if I have something that is particularly slippery, I might put a little staple in the edge just to keep it steady. Okay. All right, now I've decided that I'm going to make the heart red, and I'm going to use the blue for the background. So I'm going to need this piece, set this over here because I'm going to need it, and this red piece. Now, if I wanted to, I could use these other two pieces to make a whole separate paper mosaic, but I'm not going to do that today, so I'll set those aside too. Okay, so tip number one when you are making your paper mosaic is that you're going to cut your shape up slowly. I'm not really sure even how else to describe that, but for instance, I'm going to take this, I'm going to start in the middle and kind of work my way out. That way I don't start somewhere and then end up having a whole bunch of extra space around one side and not have any on the other, right? So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to take my scissors and I am going to cut. I'm going to lay that down. You can't see that. Let me just lay this down right here. Can you? There we go. I'll move it over. I'm going to leave that there. And I'm going to cut this piece, and I'm going to leave that there. That's the only piece I'm cutting out right now. And then I'm going to take this piece, and I'm going to center it on my paper, and I'm going to, now watch this. See how I hold this? I've got 2 fingers on this side and 2 fingers on this side, because when I cut this, if I were to just cut it like this, it falls and flops. And then sometimes we lose track of which direction it's supposed to go. So I'm just going to set that there for now. Again, right? Fancy technique. Right. So now I know exactly where that's going to go, right in the middle. And I also know where the other pieces go. And this, although a little more, slow when you're working, really makes a difference. And actually, it seems like it's slower, but in the long run, it's a lot faster because you're not trying to put all the pieces back together now the way they come out. Sometimes I like to angle it a little bit just to give it a little visual interest. And when I glue these down, right, I'm just gonna leave a little space in between them. Here we go. And that is how we will continue until that part is finished. All right. Now, I do have an example. Well, let me just glue this part down just quickly. Right? You want your pieces to be fairly uniform. Ooh, it's gloopy. Okay, and a little bit right here. I'm really glad this purple glue dries clear because my art would be looking like a mess right now. Okay, so let's see, I'll do the bottom part. So for the bottom, right, same thing. You're gonna cut a strip, lay that down over here so you know where it came from, and then you're gonna cut these up into pieces as well. Yeah, however you like to do it. So I have an example. Is an example of a finished heart. So all the pieces are there. You can see in some places I purposely kind of cut them at angles, right, to make them a little more interesting to look at. And then you will do the same process for the background. and I have a video, I'll put a little piece in there to describe that as well. But this is what, right? You're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna cut a strip from the background, and you are going to fit it around your heart. Okay, again, this could be for any time, but you know, Mother's Day's coming up. Moms love this. I also wanted to show you just as an example of a different kind of paper mosaic. And this one is not done in the same way that I just showed you, where it's piece by piece by piece, and you start out with a shape. This one, I started out by kind of sketching a flower, and then I went through magazines and I cut out little pieces from the colors that I wanted, and I glued them down, right? Here we go. Boop. So that it made the sky, right? And the ground and the greens. And one of the things I really like about magazine paper for mosaics is that it has a lot of different little color variations in there. And I just think it looks so interesting to do. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this paper mosaic, and I'd love to see them. So make sure that you either send them to the Google Classroom or you can email them to me. So enjoy, and let's get started.